What if one small thing could change the way you see the markets forever? Most traders ignore the psychological impact of their chart colors. Don't make this mistake. In this video, I'm going to show you how your chart colors could be influencing your decision making, and I'll reveal my exact TradingView settings along with all the tools I use to execute in the markets with precision. Okay, so when I first started trading, I'm not gonna lie to you, it used to be hard for me to see sell positions. You know, when you hop on TradingView, the default chart colors are green, red, and then generally you'll have a white background screen. Now, for me, I could never see sell positions. I could only see buy. It was like my mind, when a pullback or a sell was happening, I just couldn't function my brain to spot it. The same exact setup that I would use if I was looking for a buy. And why is that? Well, because all I was looking for was for the green candles. All I wanted to see was the big green candles. And this can really affect your psychology. So think about it. When you think of the colors green and red, let's just say the color green. What are some things that come to your mind? Money, go, good. You know, there's a lot of good associated with green, right? Now, what do we think about when we see the color red? Negative, bad, stop. You know, so there's a lot of negative emotions tied to the color red, right? And so what this can do is it can really weigh on your psychology when you seeing all of these red candles. It really can influence your decision making in terms of anytime markets are selling, this is a bad thing. It's not a bad thing that markets are selling, and you can capitalize on that wave and that move. I used to literally just sit on the sidelines and wait for price to get back into a bullish trend. And then we would be trending downwards for some time, and I'd miss so many different moves. And so the one biggest thing that I heard, and I want to say somewhere along the lines of my journey, I was told about how, you know, these chart colors can actually affect your psychology, and it made sense to me. So then I was instructed to change my chart colors, at least is specifically my candle colors, from red and green to blue and white. Why blue and white? Because blue and white are two neutral colors. So if we come over here to the charts, you can see that my bullish candles are blue and my bearish candles are in fact, you know, white. And then also I changed my background from being white to black. Now, why I specifically changed my background from being white to black? Two reasons. One, I can see the neutral colors better, the blue and the white, so I can have the blue and the white. And another reason is simply because when I get up in the morning, like my eyes are really sensitive. And so having that super bright screen, because I got these huge monitors, I'm not trading at my desktop now, but I have these huge monitors. And if they're both shining bright, that literally kills my eyes. So it's just easier on my eyes. And that just makes it more enjoyable for me on the charts. It makes it easier for me. I don't have some external strain that's going on with that with my eyes. So it makes it so much easier for the adjustment. So I make sure that I have neutral colors, and you can change your colors to whatever you want it to be. But I just say refrain from colors such as, you know, red and green. Those two can have a tremendous effect. I've seen some people who have their chart colors be like pink and gray. I've seen some that are, you know, blue and white. I've seen others that are like gray and white. It's however you really feel it. My friend, he has his, I think, like orange and white or something like that. But it's however you really want it. But I would refrain from using the green and the red charts, especially when you're starting out too. It just it can have a serious negative effect. And another thing that I changed specifically, and we'll get into it when I start talking about my actual tools that I use, but my long and short positions. So I changed the colors of those as well, because they are generally green and red for your stop loss, green for profit and red for your stop loss. And I changed mine to blue and white. So you can see here that if I was like in a sell trade, or it's not blue and white, excuse me, I changed mine to blue and gray. So you can see if I was in a sell trade here, my profit is blue and then my stop loss is gray, just helping ease the pain of being in drawdown. You know, drawdown sucks. So when you see that you're in the red, you feel that you're in the red, it just feels worse. But you know, obviously It's never fun to be in drawdown, but this will help you manage your emotions. Just seeing it, you're in a gray area, that you're not in the red, you're in a gray area. So that's one thing that I would say. So what are my exact settings? So I'm going to give you guys my settings here so you can go through. So for my symbols, and you guys can just pause it here. For my symbols, I have my body candle. I have it set for this blue here. And then for the white, I have it set, just for your plain white. I don't have borders on my candles, so you can see that my candles have no borders. You can see that what that does. It makes it a little harder for me to see each individual candle. I feel like it's easier to see the market structure, what's going down, what's going up if I have no borders. You see that there? And these are different things that you wouldn't necessarily think about when you first hop on the charts, but they're really important in the comfortability and, the pure being able to see the charts clearly, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So for my wicks, I have both of my wicks set as white. So you could just go to the white for the wicks there. And then electronic trading, you can just copy this wherever your time zone would be, but you can just copy this. I pretty much keep all of this the same. Status line, you can copy this right here. I don't like having a whole bunch of data on my chart, so I don't have like the volume, the last day change value, all of this stuff is just not needed, and it just takes up more space on the chart. So I just uncheck all of those. The background, I turned it to, you can see like opacity of it right here. um I don't know what that really does, but that's where they're set at. That might even be default. I don't know if I changed that. So if we come over here to scales and lines, I don't think I changed any of this, but you guys can go through here and make sure that yours is aligned with mine. Um, I have Yeah, so only thing I have checked is no overlapping labels, countdown bar to close. I need this countdown bar to close, so I use that a lot. And you can't see it now, but that'll be the time for how much time is left for whatever time frame you're on. When does that candle specifically close? That countdown bar. I highly suggest keeping that clicked right there. All of this stuff remains the same. I don't really use none of this, so I'm pretty sure that that's just not on there. And then I have my day and week labels, um, which are at the bottom there. So then we come over here to canvas. This is where things get a little bit different. So I set my background to solid and it is black, right? I have grid lines. I don't really like grid lines. I think grid lines add more to like, and for those of you who don't know, these are grid lines here. So I think it just adds too much to the chart. And I like to see clean price action, clean charts. So I have both of my grid lines set to black. I mean, I think you could potentially like uncheck them or just, you know, turn the opacity all the way down on them. But I have mine set to black. I like the naked chart, just seeing plain old chart there. And I think it just looks good with the blue and the white. It makes it easier to see. So then the crosshairs, I got my crosshairs set at the dotted line. So you can see I have it as this dotted line over here. If you look over to the side, you can see the crosshairs on my mouse. And then that's just set for gray. I don't know which exact gray it is, but a lighter gray. I want to say it like this gray, one of these two grays. But it's just a light color essentially. And then I have, you can see the thickness of it and then the line style right there. So you guys can pause this, screenshot it, do whatever you have to do. And then for my text, I use blue. That's just my theme color, so I use blue. For the lines, I don't know what that's talking about. It's purple. I don't really use that though. Trading buy sell buttons. I don't think I've changed any of this, but you guys can go through here with this as well. You can see the buy and sell buttons, position, profit, loss, reverse, orders, bracket profits, execution, things like that. So for the alerts, you can see that I have all of the basics there and events. That should be the same as well. So those are all of my chart settings. Now let's get into the actual tools that I use on a day-to-day basis when I'm executing on the charts. So the first tool that we have is my long and short position. So anytime I'm looking to take a buy or when I look to take a sell, this is what I'll use to pretty much map out the trade. When I first started trading, this is what I would use to identify how many pips my stop loss was. So if you trade this on, let's say, a forex pair, you can identify how many pips your stop loss is. So when I was trading forex, let's say we was looking at this right here, USD EUR, and I was looking for a buy, let's say right at here from this level. Let's say I was looking for a buy from this level here. I can set my stops below this low, and I know that from this point here to this point here is only 36 pips. That's how I would make sure that I would put 36 pips into my calculator at the time and calculate 1% risk for whatever my account size was at that time. So the buy and sell, I don't actually enter positions off of this. I use it as more so a visual representation for when I send out setups to the groups, things like that. I like to have that on the chart with the trade running. It makes me feel good to see us in blues, and in running in these. So I use that, but this is your tool column over here. What you'll have to do is you'll go over here to your long and short position. These are the first two, and just hit this favorite, right? That'll favorite it. We can remove that last one. So that'll favor it to make sure that you have this toolbar column. So every one that we go through, you'll have to go to not just this tool. So for your long and short position, you have to come over here to projection. So you come into projection, and then you want to hit your, add it to favorites, and then you can go into and it'll add it to your toolbar here, because this is your favorites bar. So for the long and the short tool, I'll give you guys my my settings here. So let's go to the style. I have my line set. You can see the thickness of the line is gray. I think that's good. The same. So I have gray set again for my stop loss, but I also moved the opacity to 51. Why? Because if you have it solid like this, you won't be able to see the candles through the chart, right? So you see how that is. That's no good. So I keep it that like this, so that way you can see the candles through the chart there. So there's that. Target color blue, also opacity 50. This is the specific blue that I use for that one. Then we have text white, just all the things that's written in the data there, that's just white. And so that is the settings, and they're both the same for my sell and buy position. So it's just identical. You can just copy and paste it to both. Now, the next tool that I use, which this is heavily important every single day, is the rectangle. And specifically, I have mine extended right. Now, this is how I mark out all of my zones. So to find the rectangle, you can come down to, I believe this is, what is this? I think it's brushes. Geometric shapes. So you come over to geometric shapes, you can hit the rectangle. This is another thing that I use. Like I said, every single day I use the rectangle. Generally, when you get the rectangle, it'll be just like this, right? So you get something like this, and you'll have to draw this out to however you want it to be. You can do it like that. But I would always be, wanting to draw mine out as far as I could this way, and then, keep that there. So I have mine extended right? So that means it just goes and goes and goes to the right. Now, what I use the rectangle for is marking out my zones and my key areas. So a lot of times you guys will see that I have, let's say, a premium zone marked off. So if I was looking at a premium zone here, this would be, the area that I look to price to go to. And I use a zone specifically because the line is too specific. When I used to use the lines, and we'll get to the horizontal array, which is the next thing on the tool here. I would use these initially as my areas, and I realized that price would go to the line or sometimes through the line and reverse off of in that general area. So I like to mark off the general area by a zone specifically. And so my settings for that, you can see my background here. I have it set to this blue 46% so we can see through, and then I got it extended right. That's pretty much all that is for that. And then finally, we are currently at the horizontal ray. So horizontal ray, you go into lines, you can favorite horizontal ray. This is what I use to mark out my premium zone. And so let's go to my specific settings here. You can see that this is the color that I have for the line. I didn't want to go with the regular blue. I needed something that stood out a little bit. And this little neon like blue is what I came up with. I tried many different colors before coming to this one, and this is the one that stuck. So for the horizontal ray, I have it set for blue. You can see my text here is set to this blue. And why I have text set is because I have templates. So when you set a text, you can come over here to template and you can hit save as, whatever you save it as. So you can see that I have my premium zone. So this is my premium zone one. And for my premium zone text, I always have my text alignment at the bottom and in the center. So it's below the line and then at the center of the line as well. Because I don't want it to be crouched up into here. Then we can't see what I have marked out. But I also have my take profit. So a target zone. So if I have TP1, it says target 1 and it has this emoji next to it. Now, initially I added this emoji because I have TradingView on my phone. I'm not sure how you can add emojis within the text just from your computer, but I'm sure you could copy and paste one if you wanted to. It's just, it is what it is. But so that's how I specifically use those. So I'll use these as my lines, and then what I would do with these lines is, if you come over here to, you click your line, if you come up here, you can set alerts on the line. So when price reaches these areas, which I call my key levels, then I can be alerted and notified when price gets to these levels. This is a super, super useful tool if you're if you're looking at key areas or touch points, you need price to come to a certain area. Always setting an alert in that area or that general zone um, will help indicate you so that you don't miss trades, because it's very, very easy to miss trades. So yeah, that's one thing that I find very, very useful here. You can see my line color is this color. I have it at the thickness of 2. You can see I got the full line. I haven't really done anything to settings. You could lock it, so if you didn't want it to move, you want to be able to touch it and grab it and not move it around, lock it. I never lock mine. But essentially, that's what you do. Now, the third tool or the fourth tool on this is the path. Now, to find the path, I believe you have to come down to, you have to go back into your geometric shapes, and it'll be right here. You can click the path. Now, what I use the path for is sending out direction. So generally when I want to use a direction, I'll use the path. So if I want to indicate that price could come to this level here and we could potentially see a bullish flip and break through this high, this is how I would indicate it, is with the path. Now, why I use the path is because it helps in terms of teaching and directing in terms of market structure. So this might not be something that you use, but I highly suggest that you know that it is a good tool for drawing out structure. And this is one that I use more so, like I said, for teaching purposes and for indicating every day that we send a daily outlook. I'm using this path to indicate what I'm anticipating price to do, where I'm anticipating it to go, how I anticipate and how I'm anticipating it to flip. So these things are very important. Another thing that I use is the eclipse. The eclipse is in the geometric shapes as well. My path, let me go back to it. The path that I have is this color red, and it is the 4px thickness. I have it thick so that you can see it, because if you go super thin, it becomes hard to see over these candles and it's just not as prominent, which I like it to be prominent. And we went with red because it's bold and it stands out from the rest of it. It doesn't necessarily fit the feng shui, but it gets the general point across. You feel me? So that's the path. The eclipse. So the eclipse I only usually use when I want to indicate something. So let's say I wanted to indicate that this gap is going to get filled here, I'll use the eclipse for that. Or if I wanted to indicate a key candle in the markets, then I'll use the eclipse to indicate that. These are, like I said, are more so for teaching points and to spot different things. Or even if I get to one of the next tools that I use, which is the call out. So I'll have it highlighted and then I'll put a note in the call out here and say, gap likely to get filled. And you can set notes for yourself and reminders with these different things. So for the eclipse, I have it set to, I believe, the basic colors. Um, oh no, I got it set to this purple here. And then I have a black border, which is kind of irrelevant. And then I have the opacity at 66. You got to turn the opacity down or you won't be able to see the candles, through it. To find the call out is actually in the text and notes, and you can favorite the call out there. And so the call out, like I said, is very simple. You can leave yourself notes. I have my background set to this blue with 83% opacity, and then the border with that same or near that same kind of highlighter blue here, just so that it stands out on these charts. It still fits the overall feng shui and vibe of the charts. It's all about making this your own, making it personal. So finally, one of the things that I use, which this is kind of, I mean, I don't really use trend lines, more so. Sometimes I'll draw them out quickly, but a lot of people use trend lines. I don't draw out trend lines all the time because they're subjective on how you place them. You could place a trend line here, or a trend line like this, and I don't use them as structural points to in my trading, but I do use them to indicate an overall trend. So if I'm saying that, hey, price has been in a bearish trend, I would just have it here to outline so that people can see the structure. And then I'll do something like putting the path over top of it and indicating that, hey, price has been in a bearish structure. And then, hey, look, we're breaking out of that bearish structure when we get a previous high break. And now price is switching from now being in a bearish structure to now being in a bullish structure where we could potentially see this go and break up these highs here. So that's kind of how I would use trend lines more so. I don't really use them in terms of, like I said, actual structure. I use market structure, so supply and demand is how I actually trade, but that is another tool that I use. And finally, the last tool that I use, and I don't use this one as much either, is this little curve tool. And I generally just use this tool to mark out highs and lows. So if I'm looking to indicate a low or a high, I'll use this tool, or any key highs or key lows, I'll use this tool to just make it easier to identify where those highs and those lows are at. And so for this tool, I have it just set to the basic red here. I think this was the original color. I'm not too sure. I changed a lot of this stuff and I've had these colors for years now. So this has been the same way that I've had my charts for the past, I want to say, 3 years. And so for those of you who don't use TradingView, I also use TradeLocker. TradeLocker has the integrated TradingView dash. So I literally set up my TradeLocker dash to be exactly the same as TradingView. I mean, it literally is TradingView integrated on the TradeLocker. But like I said, it comes with the default settings, and you can go over here and change these the same exact way. And I'm telling you, changing your chart colors is really going to be beneficial on your psychology and, helping you come to the charts with a clear mindset. You don't have any subconscious biases being created. So I hope this video is informative to you. You was able to get some value from it. If you did, be sure to like the video and subscribe, and make sure you hit the bell icon so that you don't miss out on all the other gems, because we're going to continue to post straight gems.